Well, here he is, ladies and gentlemen, in the flesh from Milton, Florida. Where'd you start the other night?
All right, 28th.
28th, the first challenge, and he won the whole thing. You led probably you didn't even lead probably a mile.
One lap.
You led the one that pays, though. How was that? It's been for 48 hours, I can imagine.
It's kind of still hard to believe, if I'm being quite honest. It's kind of like not only the fact that we won the Firecracker 400, but the fact that a lot of people are counting it as like one of the greatest finishes, not just
It was
in
awesome.
Firecracker 400 history, but just in iRacing in general. And it's been so cool to hear all the support from everybody else and all the just all the hype around the whole event after everything. I mean, people I never thought I'd be able to talk to have been congratulating me and stuff.
Has anybody like really famous? By the way, this is Logan Helton. By the way, in case you hadn't pieced that together, anybody really
Oh.
famous message you? Like, who's the most
Um,
famous person to reach out?
I mean, I don't know about like famous in terms of people that never heard about iRacing, but people that
Well, in the community, like sim racing or real racing.
I mean, I'd say Logan Clampett probably
Oh
counts
wow,
as one of them.
yeah,
But
that's
not only that, but Landon Castle after the race came into our chat for about 20 minutes or so and just talked to us and just said thanks to me and anyone else who was involved for making that one of the greatest finishes in
I mean,
Firecracker 400.
the whole race was good. I wasn't able to watch it live. I saw the last 5 laps in the post race, but I was able to watch the race back. It was a good, clean race, and there were at some point in the race, of course, I knew the ending, so it kind of ruined it. But there were parts of the race where 10, 12 guys looked like they had the best car.
Yeah, so we were on a different gear than everyone else. We try to go with a little bit more of an aggressive gear where we
Hmm.
were topping out on the back stretch for a lot of that
I thought
race.
I heard that. I went back and watched your stream, and I thought I heard that. So I thought, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so I'd like to consider that was a call that in the middle of the race felt like a bad one that we made because I felt like for me to keep up with the pack for a green flag pit stop when everyone's tires were fresh and it was the fastest we were going to be, it felt like it was the bad call because I had to push that car through the whole corner if I wanted a chance to keep up on the straightaways, which in turn hurt my tires and made us tight throughout that whole
Yeah.
run. So unless we had the track position, we weren't getting the track position, especially with how the race was looking like it was going to go green all the way for the
Mm.
first 120 laps. I was starting to get a little worried there. But yeah, if it wasn't for that gear, I don't think we would have won the race because I had so much damage from the past wreck there with like 20 to
Yeah,
go
I
with
was saying
Seth.
it looked like your race was over, and then you
Yeah.
just you just appear again. But let's go back to the beginning of the event. So was
Okay.
this the first time you ran in the event? Like you went through the prelims and everything.
So this was my second time attempting.
Okay,
The
so
first time
did
I
you run the
attempted
last one or the
was
2021?
the 2021, so the
Yeah.
most previous one before this one. So I made it. I made it to qualifying day, but I didn't make it to the 400. So I was in the 200, where I finished third, I think.
Now, one fun thing they had, and of course you didn't have to worry about it, was they took, and I like this move. They took the winner of the 200 and put him in the big show, or gave him the option. I can't remember what it was, if they got the money and they were able to do it, or they had to pick either or. But I mean, Cozy won it, and he made the right decision, I thought. Even though you think on paper, well, $500 is like third place, but I mean, you could quadruple it. But
Yeah.
so, Which prelim were you in?
So I was in prelim number two,
Uh
where I
huh.
think I like qualified. I can't remember where I qualified, but I started first in
Yeah, I
heat
saw
one.
you. I saw you were pretty. You were pretty high up there in prelim too. Of course, I was just so mad. Prelim one. That was a disgrace to sim racing. What happened? I think I hit every.
Yeah.
I think I led. No, I was in second in my heat race. Got wrecked
Hmm.
because a guy bounced off the wall and hit me in the infield. Was leading the Consi race. Got wrecked by a guy blocking for seventh, so
Yep.
that was exciting stuff. And then didn't even get a chance in the prelim. But
I feel like
that's the
I've heard
crazy
that
part.
story about 14 times from
Yeah,
several different people.
yeah, that's
Story of the
it's
prelims.
one of those things. But that's what's crazy is, like, I didn't make the prelim, and there was somebody else that was. I think it was a Coke driver or a pro driver that didn't make the prelim either. But I know Graham Boland didn't make it out of the prelim. He finished like 25th. Graham was one. There were a large amount of people, which is crazy about this event is like, just because you're a Coke guy doesn't mean it's like an auto pass all the way into the event. I mean, even Casey Kerwin and Nick Ottinger. Ottinger was, they restarted with like 4 to go in his prelim, and he was like 16th. So, and he made it in. So, I mean, it's not like it's just a gimme to get through the prelim.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm lucky. I'm just very fortunate. I got through the Rex. I ended up starting first in the prelim, in the main, in the prelim, and finishing first. So
Yeah. I
even
mean,
though it didn't matter where you finished first through 11th, I was racing side by side with Seth the Merchant for a lot of that prelim race.
and Merch is,
So,
a lot of people consider Merch to be the best guy not to make the Coke series, at least skill wise. But I mean,
oh yeah.
your prelim was pretty cut and dry. You didn't have to just worry a whole lot. I mean, you didn't drop any lower than second at any point in that, if I remember right.
Well, we actually got involved in a wreck,
Oh, that's
and
right. That's right. You also had your prelim had the big one,
yeah, we
like the
had the big
big one.
restart wreck. We had
Yeah.
the big restart wreck, and I was able to miss that one thanks to Brian Hicks and his amazing spotting.
So so that we'll mention him here in a little bit, but I watch his streams when he spots you, and it's you think when you think of Brian, I love Brian to death. He's a
Oh
great
yeah.
streamer. He's a great dude. But when you think of him, you don't. I mean, he was like treating really serious, like it was the Daytona 500 when he
Oh
was
yeah.
spotting you, and when he spots you in like NIS or FTF or whatever. But I thought Brian did a heck of a job. I mean, he was as fired up as you were.
I would like to say he's probably more fired up than I was for winning that thing. I go back and listen to my stream, and I'm just saying "Let's go"
Hey,
14
just say let's
times
go over and over, and like
because I mean I don't cuss, so like
yeah.
I don't know what else to say. I'm
I
just
mean,
like
what
"Let's
else?
go."
What else is there to say? I mean, you could
I
have just
mean
sat there in disbelief.
I mean, Eraser pulled me up into the broadcast booth like the second I crossed the line. It felt like, and I didn't have any time to just process what just happened, and I sounded like I was just I had one brain cell, just like oh let's go.
I mean, you won though. I mean,
We won.
you had as many brain cells as laps led at that point. So that's
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
you make it from the prelim, and don't give away too many industry secrets if you don't want to, or any of the Nexus guys don't want you. But how were you? How many hours did you put in for qualifying? Like, give me a rough estimate.
So
So
I'm gonna.
from your prelim Wednesday night, say about 11 o'clock until the first night of qualifying, where are we sitting?
I'd
Or what
say
are we doing?
I put in roughly anywhere between like 5 to 7 hours worth of practice for qualifying.
And
And
I heard outrageous numbers, like people putting in 20, 30 plus hours in the span of a week, or 3 hours a day. Of course, a
yeah,
lot of ones I heard of were the ones building it or having a lot of input on it. But I mean, five to
yeah,
seven. I mean, that's like an hour a day, so that's not anything crazy. Of course, when it's something like that where you get one lap, if you screw it up, well, you get another chance the next night, but there's no guarantee the conditions are better.
yeah.
So where were you the first night after qualifying?
So the first night I was 24th fastest.
Yeah. So I
So I
think
was 4 spots out of the lock-in.
so. They took the top 20, by the way, for the first night, and then they qualified for 21st through everyone else, and took 21st through 42nd.
42nd.
Yeah. So you were 24th. I mean, was there ever a consideration to run again, or were you just like, if somebody beats me here, whatever?
So I thought my conditions were horrible whenever I ran my lap. I had 127-degree track temperature, and the guy that got pole, my teammate Alec Martinez, he had I think like 118 or something like that. So I had a whole 10 degrees hotter than him, and I was still only like 0.034 off of him.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm running again the next day. And then David L. Brown, oh, there goes my phone. I should probably turn that off. My teammate David L. Brown came back to me and he told me, do not run. I mean, it's horrible conditions tomorrow.
I think everyone from 21st through 30th just sat on their time. I think.
I think
and
only
I
four
thought,
people,
yeah.
yeah, 4 people in the top 21st to 42nd ran again.
What's funny is I think the 4 people that ran that would have been top 42 would have been locked in with their first time. Or I think 3 of the 4. Because I know Cozy
Yeah.
was one that re-ran, and he ended up going slower. I'm trying to remember who else. But
I think I know that Nathan Lyon and Blake McCandless reran,
yeah.
but I can't remember if they were in top 42.
Well, Blake McCandless, golly, he had a time that I think it would have been fifth fastest overall if they went that way. I mean,
Yeah,
that was the
they
best.
put in a lot of work on
Yeah.
their
Oh,
setup
I mean,
that night.
all the people that make it this far, they've put in. I hesitate to say hundreds of hours in that.
Yeah, and I'm lucky we had such a good setup to run. I still feel like I messed up my lap a little bit, but still to be 24th fastest out of 88
Yeah,
people
and
in
it
127-degree track temperature, it was pretty big.
and it's not like you're racing against bums out there. I mean, I'm looking at
Yeah,
I have the results sheet. I'm just looking at the names that didn't even make it to the 400. I mean, Dylan Alt's won, Garrett Maines, Jackson Crowder. I mean, there's John Gorlinski. I mean,
yeah,
the names that not only didn't make the prelim, but the ones that didn't make it into top 42 are nuts.
yeah. Yeah, like all these names that I've like, so to put this in perspective, I was in middle school whenever I first stumbled upon the Coke series, and I thought I was watching like I don't know, like a NASCAR heat, like something like just a little fun career mode thing. And then I looked a little bit more into it, and I realized every single one of these guys are in their bedrooms, like I am, or in like a little
Mm-hmm.
office or something with the wheel and pedals, and they're racing against each other online, and that's what got me hooked. And I don't know how many people can say this, but the only reason I joined iRacing was to make the Coke series, which then was the Peak series.
Yeah,
And this year we're in Road to Pro, and we're currently fourth in points in round two for
I
Road to
saw
Pro
that, and it's race 3 coming up. Not this week, is it?
next
Next
week.
week. That's it. So and that's so to kind of simply break it down as quick as you can. They take everyone can run Road to Pro, so they take after that after a 6 or 7 race season they take the top 70. This is just for
Yep.
people that don't know. They take the top 70 and then they run 6 or 7 more races. They all race against each other in 2 snake splits, and they take the top 20 of that and the bottom 20 of the Coke series, give or take. If one or two say they're retiring, they're not
Like
even going to
yeah,
mess with pro, then they'll take. Say if there's 8, if they take the bottom 18 from Coke, they'll take the top 22 from Road to Pro, and they got fancy names. I can't even remember them. I know
it's
I
like
know
the Contender
Yeah,
series.
contenders when you go to the B car. So they all put them in contender. It used to be called Pro, and then
Yeah,
they take the top 20 of that and move them up.
yeah,
So that's how it makes the Coke series. So I think the path is easier now than it's ever been on paper, because before, like the first year that they had Coke, it was DWC. If I remember right, they just took the or the top what was it? I think it was 40 in just the A fixed standings, or the the NIS standings or something like that. All the old people like Kevin King and Ray
yeah.
Alfala can tell you exactly what it was because they've been in the series for 1,000 years. But
Yeah, I can't tell you how it worked because I don't.
I'll say you're about
I
8.
joined
You're about
iRacing.
8 when it happened.
Yeah, I joined iRacing Christmas of 2018.
So the other thing that I think they pointed out of the broadcast, you are 19 years old, and
Yes.
you beat all the like the real racing guys, all these Coke guys, all these guys that have been sim racing. I remember when they sim raced in a video game that actually is older than you, NR
Yeah.
2003. Like that's nuts to think about. I mean, Cattell and Cozy, they're mid 20s. I think Cozy's late 20s. I can't remember, but I mean, it's nuts to think about that a dude that is older than a video game a lot of us played just won this big event, like the biggest sim race that there is outside of maybe the Final Four Coke race.
Yeah, it's crazy to say that I won. Like, is this like confirmed like the biggest sim race in
I'd say
America? Or
so. I'd say
yeah,
so. Yeah, I know. What's his name? Jesse Awuji and I think it's Next Level Racing. They put on some money races where they give like $3,000 to the winner, but nothing else. And it's usually like 10 Coke guys and a bunch of just randos racing. But I mean, this is the biggest event
yeah,
outside of the Coke series, and I would say outside of the final race, it's bigger than the Coke series is because
yeah. I
because
mean,
they had 360 entrants, and I want to say almost I think all but 6 drivers in the Coke series entered. And there are people that I know of, like for instance Nathan Lyon. He never touches iRacing anymore. And, he
yeah,
finished third, but he plugged the wheel back in
he
and
does it for
renewed.
fun
Yeah,
now.
he renewed the subscription, and he was just like, screw it, I'll do it. Because I mean, it's a mix of a fun car to drive and a fun combo, and it brings people out of the woodwork. for it. So I mean, you get a great mix of people that race in it from top to bottom.
Yeah, it's there's just so many people that run it, and just the fact that we were out there and we ran good, and we eventually turned out to win the race.
Yeah.
It's just this still crazy thing. I told you I'd wait till Friday so I can let it sink in and be
Yeah.
able to talk about it in a good way. But it's still at this point, I don't even know if it's ever going to sink in that we won the Firecracker 400. I got to talk to Cozy a little bit. I was asking him some questions about because I don't know if you remember, but he like showed some pictures of, like some canvases he had of like
Yeah.
screenshots of his race.
Yeah.
You know, I want to remember this, and I want stuff to remember it by for a long time.
Well, you got a big old trophy for that. I think you get a
Yeah,
diecast made in your car.
we gotta find somewhere to put it up on that shelf.
You're running out of
It's
room, dog. Hey,
Yeah, that's all go kart stuff. So we're gonna have to try and find some room, but don't worry, we'll figure it out. But
I mean, you can find a place for that sucker. I'd put it smack dab in the middle of the living room. I'd probably keep it in my office. So I'm friends with Cattell. He keeps his at his dad's office because he it's a roofing. His dad runs a roofing company, and he just keeps the trophy there. And it's that was one big thing was Cozy had like a painting made. Someone made a painting of like his race win, and Cattell's got the trophy and all that. And I mean, you're gonna get cool actual stuff from this, not just the money. Now the money's cool. Don't get me wrong.
See, I completely forgot about the money until Parker told me in the broadcast, and there goes the dog.
What's up, dog?
Yeah. And I forgot all about it until he said that. Like the emotions of winning the race, I didn't care about the money. It was the fact that I joined two incredible people that either are in the Coke series or used to be in the Coke series.
Mm-hmm.
And then who the heck Logan Helton is now, Firecracker 400 winner. And I'm trying to make the Coke series, and I think we can get there, but I haven't made it yet.
You can get there.
Cozy wasn't there yet. Yeah, Cozy wasn't there yet in 2021. So hopefully, the trend continues.
It's funny that the last two winners of this race, good fortune has followed them. So you look at Cattell, he wins the race in July, or I think it was July. 2.5 months later, he wins his first Coke race when he's in the series. And he had gone 67 starts before he won, and he finally broke through and won a Coke race at Talladega. Cozy wins the race. He makes it all the way through. He makes it to the Coke series finally. And then he wins the friggin' 200 the day before, and he's got a chance to win the 4. He's got a chance to go back to back. He's like top 2, top 3 with just a handful of laps left. So, I mean, the winner of this, it seems like good fortune follows him. Now, it's a small sample size, but, I mean, luck's on your side, I guess.
Yeah, I'd certainly like to help your case here continue. I would love to make the Coke series and other amazing things happen. So we're going to keep the momentum rolling here. And I haven't lost sight of what this year was all about when we started. It's to make the Coke series. So, this win is awesome, but let's use it as a momentum builder and keep pushing.
So we'll talk a little more Road to Pro in just a sec. So you get to the race. You're starting 28th.
Yeah.
28th, right? Yeah, it was 28th.
Yeah, 28th.
Yeah. So what's the plan? You're lined up on the grid. You're getting final instructions from your spotter, Brian Hicks. I can only imagine what he was telling you.
He had an incredible pre-race speech as we were pacing. I don't know if you saw that on his Twitter.
I think so what was it? What was he saying? Because I haven't watched it, but I'm sure it was amazing, like everything else that he's done.
It took a whole minute and 40 seconds for him to get through it. It reminded me of if a president was trying to, if a president was telling the troops before they went out
to war.
Yeah.
It's like
it was something like, this day will not be remembered as just July 26th. By the end of it, it will be remembered as the day Nexus Esports won the Firecracker 400.
So was he giving this to everybody, or was it just
you?
he
gave it to everyone in the chat, in the voice chat and Discord.
So who else was in there that was driving? It was you, Alec, and
so we had
that were driving in the race. I know David was probably in there.
He was in there. He was giving us tips throughout the whole thing. So there was Alec Martinez, Sainer Niehoff,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry. I don't know if that's how you say his name or not.
I just
He
know
was,
I just call him Sander. So
yeah, I
he's
just would
he's
call him
he's
Sander.
another dude that's really good. Anyway.
Oh yeah, he's good as well. I know that
Mm-hmm.
there's Will Norton, Sander. There was they're gonna hate me if I don't remember everyone's names in there. So I gotta go in there
Yeah,
and
hey,
I gotta go in
that's
there and
you
check.
got to make everyone happy. Now,
Yeah, I gotta
of
make
course,
everyone
someone's
happy
going to
here.
listen to this like, how come he didn't remember me immediately? But
Yeah, so there's TJ Bursk,
uh huh,
there's Cosman,
uh huh.
there was
Cosmo was a late addition, by the way.
oh yeah, Cosman got invited
Uh
after
huh.
I don't remember who it was, but someone dropped out.
Someone got penalized, I believe, and then they took. So they had the top 10 from that race, and then they took the guy that was 12th at his prelim. It just happened to be Cosman. So
Yeah, so I mean, Cosman definitely deserved a spot. Even though a little bit of luck was on his side, he definitely deserved the
oh yeah, I
spot,
mean Cosman's
100%.
fast.
Yeah, Cosman's fast, and just the fact that it's Cosman, you need
Yeah,
Cosman in the race.
of course. So
So Timu was in there as well, but he wasn't in our channel, I think, because he was streaming. And
yeah, didn't want to give
I'm
away secrets and crap. So
yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's everyone that was in the chat with us, if I remember correctly. Um, oh, and Brandon Hawken. That was the
oh
last
yeah,
one.
yeah.
I knew I was forgetting somebody, but Brandon Hawken as
Hey,
well.
he'll be okay that you forgot him. Brandon Hawkins like the nicest guy.
Yeah,
He'll
yeah,
just be happy that you remembered to look him up.
yeah. I think bugs flying around. I think maybe I'll be second to Brandon Hawken in terms of nicest people in iRacing.
Yeah, I agree with that. You guys are top three, I would say.
Yeah, top three.
So you're going through it's always in these events they give you like 1,000 pace laps. It seems like.
Yeah, so
So
we had three pace laps.
yeah. So you had the full 10-minute grid. You're gonna sit through 3 laps of pacing, so they can do all the broadcast and extra stuff, which you don't see because you're in the race. So
Yeah.
after the long speech that Brian Hicks dropped on you, what are you like? What are we doing?
The mindset was, of course, stay out of trouble, but I wanted to move up. I didn't want to be in the 20s. That's where, not that anyone that made this race is bad, but that's where a lot of the drivers that are
Yeah.
not as experienced in this car tend to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to be up front either, because that's where even the experienced drivers get loose and spin out.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to be roughly around the 10th to 20th range. I wanted to be in the top 20 area, and we got there. The setup was good enough to put me there. The only issue that we seemed to have was it was a little bit tight and dirty air, and we worked on that the whole race with tire pressure
Which
adjustments
I
and
mean,
stuff.
it's everyone's going to be tight and dirty air. It's just how well you manage it and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But I mean, some people were able to work around it better than others, but it
yeah.
seemed
So
like
I run this car a lot,
yeah.
and I'm glad that in 2021, um, I was like late into 2021. I decided to start running this car a lot in iRacing officials, and I've never regretted it. It's some of the most fun I remember having on
I mean,
iRacing, racing at Talladega and Daytona.
we've raced a bunch in that car.
Yeah,
You know, the other thing that was really helpful is David L. Brown is one of the most like trustworthy people I've ever raced with in the '87 cars at Talladega and Daytona. As our co-host has showed up, I think the co-host is hungry. Go away.
you hungry?
I think she's hungry. Whatever. You'll get fed. I promise. Anyway, God, we've got all kinds of animals. You got bugs and dogs,
Yeah,
and I got freaking cat want to be the damn co-host. But so you get in the race, and you're just chilling. You're never
yeah.
outside. Are you ever outside the top 20 once you get in there?
So the setup was really good. Don't get me as we pick up the cat. The setup was really
Those of
good.
you
Don't
that'll
get
be
me wrong.
listening online. So
Yeah, setup was really good. It's just again, like I said, it was a little tight and it was a little hard to manage. But since I run this car so much, I knew what I needed to change in my driving to get it better. So there was quite a couple times after green flag pit stops that I did fall outside of the top 20. We were in like 28th, I think, at one point back where we started. But towards the end of every run is whenever we would get back up into the top 20 at least. Um, and then that first caution happened, and of course, it changed the whole
yeah.
whole look of the whole race.
That was probably the cleanest Firecracker 400 because
Oh
if I
yeah.
remember right, there was always the first two. There was a caution the first, or I'd say every 30, 40 laps or so. I wasn't in either one, but that's just what I remember. Is like they never got. I think I saw green flag pit stops maybe twice in the first two races, if I remember right.
So
But
I think this race was big deal because I don't think they even had green flag pit stops in the first two. I think this is the first Firecracker 400.
I think that's right. Actually, I think they were there were two times where they were all like a
Yeah,
lap away, and then because they were
and
all
then a caution
they were
happened.
squirreling around because they were worried about green flag pit stops that they ended up wrecking. But
Yeah. So, I mean, to be a part of this race too, where it went 123 laps of green flag racing, I mean, that is more than half of a Daytona 500 that we
yeah,
went green.
you went roughly 300 miles under green.
Yeah, that blew my mind being a part of that. Um, I needed that caution personally just to
Catch your
regroup because,
breath.
like, catch my breath because, like, you might not notice it because on the broadcast it seems, oh, the guys outside of the top 20 or outside of the top 10, they're just riding and they're chilling. But with this car, you're never just
No,
chilling. With this car, it's every single lap, it's working that wheel and keeping the car underneath you. Like, I needed that caution just to catch my breath and just start almost kind of just reset my brain and get ready for this final shootout for the last
because you
38 or
knew
so
this
laps.
last 35, 40 laps was going to be something.
Cautions. Yeah, I knew it was going to be a lot of wrecks, especially with the names that were up front. I like everyone wants this. Everyone wants to win the Firecracker 400, especially after the skip last year in
Yeah,
2022 when they didn't have it. I mean, this was 2 year
two
like
years
two
of
years
built up
since.
emotion.
Yeah, built up just stress. Like this setup we had was 2 years worth of work, and
I mean, David's one of the smartest people I know with this car. I talked to him a bunch when we race. Of course, I only see him. Uh, the only time I ever talked to him is when it's an 87 week at a super speedway. So me and him will probably be good buddies again next week because 87s go to I believe Talladega. So
yeah,
we'll be buddy buddy for a couple nights. So.
yeah.
But
David
that's
is
an underrated thing is because you have guys that might be more talented than him driving wise, but I don't think many people drive this car more than he does. Like people don't
there.
understand how like he's probably in a super speedway week he probably runs close to 40 races probably 25, 30, 35 somewhere in there.
He owns these cars a lot, and
Yeah.
if it wasn't, we wouldn't have even been in this position. I don't feel like I like pretty much all the thanks I have goes to like underneath 10 people, and I feel like David and Brian Hicks are at the top of that list. Um,
That's quite the list.
yeah, it's so cool to have someone like David that knows so much about this car that I can ask him a single question. Like in the race, I asked him, "All right, I'm tight in dirty air. What's one thing I can do to make it like just a little bit looser?" Because I knew exactly what I wanted. I just needed that one little bit of looseness in it,
Mhm.
and
That's
he told me that one thing, and I plugged it in, and we were still tight, but it got me just that loose enough to where I could finally feel like I could make some aggressive
mhm.
moves.
Like that's an underrated thing for a driver, whether it's real life or in sim racing. The one I've heard as the best at doing that is Ross Chastain, where he can describe what's going on, tell
Mm,
you what he wants, and then if you give it to him, he's good. That's
yeah,
all he needs. It's like it's loose center, tight off, or something like that, and they'll do whatever they can to fix it and change it. And once they do, he's good. So that's a
yeah,
big thing. That's a big it takes a good drive takes someone from a good driver to a great driver if they could explain what's going on and know what they need to do to fix it. Because I mean, any idiot could say, "Oh, well, the car's too loose." Like, well, okay, what do you need?
yeah. So I just needed it to be that little bit more loose, or yeah, needed it just be a little bit
Yeah,
more loose for me to feel confident. And after I asked him that question and he told me what to do, I took it for myself from there on out. I'm like, all right, well, if you told me to do this, I'm just do it again
yeah,
in the next pit stop just to get it more loose. Because the closer you get to the end of the race, tire wear is not a huge factor like it was before. So
Yeah.
I didn't make a huge adjustment early because I didn't want to be too loose at the end of the run. So I just made them tiny little adjustments. But the more we moved on, I just made more adjustments and bigger steps
Just kept
because I
changing
didn't.
as it went.
Yeah, I didn't care about tire wear at that point.
So you get to so you let's fast forward about 20 laps. You're involved in that wreck. What are we
Yeah.
thinking?
So at first I thought my car was killed
Mm-hmm.
because we hit that wall pretty good. Being sandwiched between Seth there and the wall, I figured if we're not killed, the car is going to be, or not only that, we're going to be so far back. What am I going to be able to do with this? So it was at that point, it was just pit. I'm not fixing any damage. We're 20 laps away from this thing. Track position is more important than just, body damage. If it's not suspension, wheel, or engine damage, there ain't no reason to sit in the pits for 2 minutes to fix
Yeah.
damage. And it turned out we had 50 seconds worth of body damage. After that.
You'll take that. The cars
Oh
are
yeah,
tanks. Pretty much, I always explain to me if you don't hurt the engine and you don't knock a wheel off, you're good. You can get it fixed
yeah,
just as good as new.
yeah. And I didn't feel like it was worth it. I felt like I want track position, and that's what
Yeah.
we did. So we took 4 tires, and we went back out there, and we tried to get more and more higher up into the standings.
So after that, when you restarted, where were you at?
I think I was in
Just a guess.
like 17th, somewhere around there after that wreck. Because there were, I mean, so many people were a lap down at that point, and so many people had so much worse damage that they were taking time to go into the pits and fixing it. And I was just like, I don't care at this point. I just want spots.
Track position's king pretty much everywhere.
Yeah,
So after that, some shenanigans happened, and there's a caution with about 5 or 4 to go, and then they shortened it to 1 to go on the restart, and they have a 2-lap shootout.
yes.
You are sitting
Ninth on the restart.
you're sitting ninth with 2 to go.
Yes.
Did you have any idea that you'd gain 8 spots at 2 laps and win? Or did you think
It's
was it in the back of your head like, you know what, I got a chance at this?
It definitely was in the back of my head that I had a chance at it, but whenever I'm racing, it's like I imagine finishing first,
Mm-hmm.
and then I kind of push it away. It's like because if I'm thinking about winning the whole time, I'm going to try too hard to make an aggressive move
Mm-hmm.
to force a win. So at that point, it's just straight up focus. It's just you have to take it, one spot at a time. Don't force anything. That's something that I've learned over the past year or two, personally. Is if you're trying to force something to happen, it's probably not going to happen. And of course, knowing the history of this event, last lap crashes
Yeah.
are a highly likely thing to happen.
Yep.
So
I think, but
ba-
I think I tweeted this out, and I don't know if you saw it or not. But I had some stats from the first 2 races. The winner of the race was in 7th place at some point on the last lap,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you were about 7th on the last
Yeah,
lap.
I think I was in one, two, three, four. I think I was in either sixth or seventh on the last lap
Like that was a
whenever we
big,
crossed the line.
and the way that all 3 of you got to 7th was kind of interesting. Cozy was up to 2nd, and then he got blown by about 4 or 5 cars. Cattell
Yeah,
was just hanging around in 7th, and then they just started wrecking one by one in front of him. And then you just kind of, it was a pack, and then it's kind of the same thing, You had you had one kind of big one, and then you had just a few more just lose momentum, and you got by them.
yeah. So we got the white flag,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt personally like I was in a really, really good spot. Because I knew Casey Kerwin, he
Mm-hmm.
took 2 tires, and Seth took 4. And they were both in front of me, and they made their best moves they could have made. They took the high side into turn 1 and 2, and that was their best move. They don't want to be boxed in behind the 2 old tires of Cozy and Doucette.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew I'm not winning this race if I follow them, because third car on the outside wasn't going to do it for me. So I took all that open real estate that was on the bottom, and I said, "Forget that. I'm taking it. I'm taking the bottom. Like, I ain't winning this race going up top. I'm taking a chance running the bottom." And then I watched into turn one. Ryan Doucette moved up about 2 lanes, washed up the track because of the old tires. And then the second he did that, then Cozy got turned by Casey.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew at that point, okay, well, DeMerchant, he's either got to check up way too much or he's already involved in it, so he's not a factor anymore. At that point on, I had my sights set on Doucette.
Yeah. So it's basically a 2-horse race, and then about 3 seconds back is Nathan Lyon, and then everybody
Yeah.
else is behind him. So, of course, Nathan Lyon's probably cheering like, "Oh, I need these guys to wreck," but
Yeah, so he actually told me, we talked about it yesterday, I think it was, and he said on the last lap he yelled out and screamed. He said, "Wreck each other!" like way out loud.
well,
And
it almost happened because
yeah, it almost happened.
yeah,
Yeah. So after we got out of turn two, and it's just me and Ryan, I'll bring it back here to the gear we ran. If it wasn't for running that gear, there is no way I would have gotten to the outside of Ryan into turn three, because keep in mind I had the 50 seconds worth of damage.
mm-hmm.
I think I look back at it. I think Ryan is running a lower spoiler than I am, and and I almost got involved in that wreck, so my momentum is lower than Ryan, and
Yeah.
we still get side by side into turn three.
So the entire deck is against you there,
Yeah,
or pretty close.
and then one thing helped me out there. Well, technically two things, like a little bit of draft
Mm-hmm.
and that gear that gave me more acceleration than he had. So, and we were side by side in turn 3 and 4. I had fresher tires than he did, but of course that doesn't help on a straightaway. But definitely in the corner, I was able to just hold it on his outside there. Coming out of turn 4, I
Got to
I
run
don't,
off.
yeah, and I don't race like this, like ever. I don't like knocking people out of the way. Um, it's the Firecracker 400, and I hate that it was against Ryan. I love Ryan. He's a really good friend of me. But we beat and bang doors coming to the
Mm-hmm.
line, and we have what people are considering the greatest Firecracker
Oh yeah.
400 finish.
Oh, it was great. It was 5 thousandths of a second,
5 thousandths of a
essentially.
second.
Yeah, I mean it.
Man.
Even Doucette was like, "Dude, this finish was so cool." I think
Yeah.
he was disappointed because he missed out probably by that much, but he was probably also appreciative he finished second in that. Like
Yeah.
Ryan Doucette's really good.
Oh yeah.
So what's it?
He's in the Coke series.
Yeah.
Like, he's a really good driver. Like all these, that's my dog is doing crazy. Yeah, I mean, just to be in that race with these people. I mean, if you go and look coming at a turn 4 with 2 laps to go, coming to take the white flag, I got Ryan Doucette, Michael Cozy, Casey Carwin, Ray Alfala, Kevin McAdams, and did I say Seth the Merchant already?
Yeah, that's at the Merchant.
And Seth the Merchant. I have all these huge names, and Nathan Lyon was in front of me.
Yeah.
Like, all of the names are people that I've looked up to in the sim racing world, people that I've wanted to be like, and people that, are kind of like I've always wanted to be friends with, just to understand what they go through and to be more like them. And we come out of there with the win
Yeah.
in front of all those guys in the biggest sim race in America.
The
So
biggest sim
it's-
race in the world, probably, I'd say.
Maybe.
I mean, because you had 6 people, you had 6 different countries represented
Yeah.
in that race. So it's a worldwide phenomenon, for sure. But
Yeah.
so again, after that, how many texts, tweets, messages did you have on your phone, or did your phone freeze from everything?
So I had a lot of family members on Facebook side of things. My mom always shares all my races on Facebook on her page, and I went back and looked, and there's like 12 comments on it, and like everyone just saying, "Can't believe it." Some people thought it was real, and they're saying like, "Where the heck was this at?" And they have to explain to them it's iRacing. Come here, Scooby.
Bring the dog
I
over
get
here.
it.
I've already brought the cat in, so.
There it is. So it was just really cool. just all these different people talk to me. I've never seen my Twitter blow up so much. First time I checked Twitter, like just 200 notifications
God.
just from Eraser tagging me in their post and all the likes, retweets. It tells you all of it every time someone likes it. It sends you a notification. I go back. I looked at it today. That tweet that Eraser put has 400 likes on it, and it
God.
has 100,000 views.
I mean, I
So
think I saw the official Instagram page share it too, or official iRacing Instagram. So I mean, it's
yeah,
gonna get a
it's
lot of views. I mean,
yeah,
it's gonna be up there with Kurt Busch and Ricky Craven just hanging on each other. Like it's gonna
yeah,
be in that category
yeah.
forever.
I saw some on Twitter. They had put the sound
I saw that. I saw they put
over
the
that.
I saw the audio from that race put over. It was pretty
I
cool.
think like
I thought it was pretty.
air.
I thought of that as soon as that finish happened. I'm like, that's 2003 at Darlington. Like
Yeah,
that's immediately what I thought. Because it's
yeah,
like you did something that's been uncommon lately in sim racing. You could have turned Doucette. You
yeah,
could have just flat out wrecked him. Still would have got the win. Just like, you've seen events like that in official racing. You've seen it happen in real racing, in the Coke Series, everywhere lately. But it was refreshing to see a little paint trading involved, but it was refreshing to see a good, clean finish. Like a good finish that didn't involve wrecking people.
yeah. And I've never liked doing bump and runs because I'm not good at it. And anytime, especially in iRacing, netcode and stuff,
Yeah.
bump and runs normally turn into wreck and
Yeah.
hope you
Yeah.
don't get
Yeah. Wreck.
involved
Yeah.
in
Wreck and wreck, not bump and run.
it. Yeah. So I've never been the guy you think of whenever you think of that stuff.
Mm-mm. No,
So
I've raced with you enough. I don't think of that at all. I know, like, if I am able to get around you, you're not going to put up much of a fight. I mean, you're going to block a little bit, but I mean, you're not gonna wreck somebody. So that's another thing I
yeah,
appreciate. Is like, I knew that Doucette wasn't gonna do anything. I knew Nathan wasn't gonna do anything. So it was all around a bunch of guys that they were gonna race it clean and hope for the best, which was
yeah.
again refreshing.
So like I made the first move on Ryan there. I came down the track a little bit, and he came up the track a little bit, and
Made it even.
We met there,
Met in the
and
middle.
and unfortunately Ryan it hurt him most since I was on the high side coming off the corner, and it pushed him under the yellow. And I gotta thank Ryan, like he could have done something stupid there, but I knew he wouldn't. He could have just came up the track from that
Oh yeah,
underneath the yellow and just completely destroyed me.
yeah.
And then but he didn't, and I gotta thank Ryan because I'm so glad we made that
I mean,
such a good finish.
I mean, I know he's gonna be on the other end of it, but I mean, that's an all timer, finish wise. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, it's not sugarcoating it. It's one of the best finishes I've ever seen in a race like that. Now, I've seen good finishes like in just regular official racing, but the stature of the race, the months worth of racing, came down to less than around an inch, essentially.
yeah,
Yeah,
one thousandths of
yeah,
a second.
yeah. I mean, like an inch.
Yeah,
Like I think it's pretty. It would be pretty close to being one of the closest finishes in the history of racing, like real racing,
yeah,
also. But that's to have all of that, you know, all 8 prelims, the heat races, the consies, the qualifying rate, the prelim races, the 2 days of qualifying, the endless hours of testing, everything that went into that, the 200, the 160 laps the other night, all comes down to 5 hundredths of a second.
yeah,
Like that's nuts.
yeah.
Because the first 2 races they weren't close. I mean, it involved
No,
last
it
lap
was
passes, but
one car
because it's one car coming back and the rest are all wrecked in
smoking
turn 3.
piles of
Oh yeah,
carnage.
I think Cattell's was the closest because he still had I think it was Bob
What?
Bryant. Yeah,
Yeah,
he had
or
Bob
what? Or
Bryant.
maybe Gorlinsky or
Yeah, had
something
Bob
like
Bryant or
that.
Gorlinsky with him, but they were still like
They were
six,
like
7 seconds
car
behind.
lengths.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's, I
um,
mean,
yeah,
it'll be hard to top that, like at any level of racing. Again, with a race of that stature.
yeah. I heard I heard Kligerman's comments after the race, after I got done being interviewed, and after he talked to Ryan. Uh, I mean, David Shieldhouse pointed out the fact that Ryan had nothing but good things to say, and
Yeah.
I'm really happy about that. But Parker mentioned how people will call this a fake race. People will call this, just a bunch of pixels going around a pixel racetrack.
Hmm.
But he mentioned how a young man, me, all the emotions after that felt like they really just achieved something in their life,
Yeah.
winning this race, and I really did. It felt incredible
I mean,
winning that race.
it's a
Like
game changer.
it all, yeah. I mean, for the rest of my sim racing career, I'm going to be Firecracker 400 champion Logan
Hmm.
Helton, and it almost feels like I'm bragging whenever I say
Damn.
that.
Hey, say it with your chest.
Yeah,
Damn right you are. You're Logan freaking Helton, Firecracker 400
Logan.
champion.
I saw someone in my chat or either Brian's chat. They said like Logan, that's how you do it, Helton, which is
Logan,
kind of a
that's how
funny.
you do it.
Yeah, that's kind of a funny nickname. I might have to keep that
I need
one.
a T-shirt on that.
Logan, that's how you do it, Helton.
That's how you do it, Helton. I like that. That's pretty good. I
Yeah,
mean, that was the again. I'm singing the high praises about Ryan Doucette. I love him. He's a great dude, and I mean, he could half of the field if that happens to. They're talking about how, oh my God, it was awful. It was a horrible move. I'm just so mad. But I mean, he was just excited about.
yeah,
I mean, of course, like I say, you finish second. You're on the wrong end of a really good finish. But I mean, he didn't have one negative thing to say. Like
yeah,
not even like he didn't even like have a backhanded thing to say. He was just he was as professional could be.
yeah. And I'm sure it helps that me and him used to be teammates on Nexus
Yeah.
Esports. Um, this is the first time we've ever gotten a race side by side to a finish,
Hmm.
actually. And for it to end like that in the biggest stage in sim racing,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. Like, I mean, we're not teammates anymore. He's on Altus Esports, and
Yeah.
I'm still on Nexus Esports.
And
But
I think they'll keep you for a little bit.
yeah,
It might just be a
maybe just a
guess.
little bit. Yeah, they might keep me on here for just a little bit longer. Hudson Hudson last night talked to me, and he just said, "Thank you so much for all you've done
I
this
mean,
year."
it's on a, of course, smaller scale because it's a video game. But they said the same
Hmm.
thing about when Trevor Bayne won the Daytona 500. Said, he ends up he wasn't a bust because I think he had health issues in the Cup Series, but he won one Cup race. He won a handful of they were Busch then, or nationwide races then, and outside of the Daytona 500, really just an uneventful career. But for the rest of his life, he won the biggest race that there is. I mean,
Yeah,
forever and ever, he could introduce himself to whoever he meets. Hi, Trevor Bayne, Daytona 500 champion.
yeah.
Like, and another small tidbit of that. Of course, how old were you when that happened? You were probably less than 10.
He won it in 2011.
I think it was. Let me look that up real quick. God, you're gonna be young either way. Let's see. Trevor
I think it
Bayne,
was 2011.
Daytona 500. 2011, yeah. So February 2011. What are you? You're
So I
like
was, I
7?
don't know exactly my age, but I was in first grade in 2011.
My God, I was in high school when that race. I remember it. It's
Yeah.
like it's. I remember that race happening. I could tell you the last 20 laps what happened. Like it's.
The only thing I know about that race is Trevor Bayne won it.
Yeah, I mean that, but that's for the rest of the time. That's all they're going to remember is.
Yep.
Now the other thing is that many people think it saved the Wood brothers. Like the Wood brothers were going to run a part-time schedule. Well, then they put their car in victory lane for the first time in 10 years,
Hmm.
and they're still racing full time today. So I mean, a lot of people think that saved them. So I mean, just not from just a driver standpoint, but everything it's brought the people that represented you, it's brought your team. I mean, that's big because
Yeah.
now, of course, I don't think they'll do it this way, but you know, like the Wood brothers, they were able to get some really good drivers in the last 10 years, basically selling it like, well, One of the biggest race that there is. I mean, you could do this too.
Yeah,
If we could put this kid in his second start in this car and go win the race, well, I mean, we could do this with anybody.
yeah.
And
Um,
I think that's what I mean. I like a bunch of people from Nexus. I'm not associated with any team. You know, I know a lot of guys on Dead Zone, Nexus that I have good relationship with, good rapport with. But I mean, I don't run Road to Pro or anything professional like that, so
yeah,
I'm not tied to anybody. But it seems like they got a good thing going there.
yeah. So I mean, last year it was a bit of a struggle. I mean, I hit rock bottom last year in Rotor Pro. I could not get a top 20 to save my life. My best finish that whole season was an 18th at Daytona in the first
Mm.
race of the season. I mean, if I didn't get wrecked in a race, it was because my internet went out before I
Yeah,
could
if
get
you,
wrecked.
it's one of those. If you didn't have bad luck, you'd have no luck.
Exactly, and it sucked. It was horrible. Um, and I honestly was thinking about not running this year Roto Pro because I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to do anything. And then we come out there, race one Roto Pro, and we finished fifth. We should have won it, but we got wrecked technically at the end, but I was able to save it and we got a fifth. And then the next race we win at Las Vegas and split two. So
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah,
So I mean, that's a big thing, man. I mean, that's all life is, not just sim racing, but life in general. You take without the valleys, the peaks aren't as good.
yeah.
Like
And
I mean,
this
because
year has
like you
been
said, at least in sim racing standards, you know, you hit rock bottom, but now you're at the top of the mountain. Like
yeah,
nobody, I couldn't tell you who won the New Hampshire Coke race the other night, but I could tell you Logan Helton won the 400
yeah.
or the
I
Firecracker
mean,
400.
this whole year has been it's just been so crazy. It's been so like I can't believe the year we've had. Um, this Firecracker 400 win is like I'm never gonna forget it.
Yeah,
I don't know how many people are gonna forget it, and the fact that this is on the top of people's list in terms of Firecracker 400s just means that much more.
like it's not a joke. It's the best finish I've seen. I'm sure it's the best finish a lot of people seen.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just this could be a springboard. Honestly, like I said, the
Hmm.
first two winners, it was a springboard to bigger and well, I mean, just as big things.
Yeah.
So I mean, hopefully that happens with you. I mean, that's just awesome to hear that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I hear a lot of stories, not just in sim racing, but you know, people in life, or you know, I'm around sports a lot. People quitting sports because they're at a low point. They don't know if they can dig their way out of it, and then something good happens, and like a light bulb clicks on, or again, something good happens, and then they're better than they were like at any
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Another funny thing that happened was that for on the car we have advanced sawmill machinery on the
I
hood.
saw that.
Yeah, so advanced
So
sawmill machinery. That's like
yeah, tell us
a
about your sponsors, by the way.
yeah.
That's all over the
So
car.
yeah, so advanced sawmill machinery is a local business in Holt, Florida. They make all sorts of stuff for sawmill. They got like the oh my gosh, what's it called? It's like the assembly line equipment,
Mm-hmm.
and all the stuff that sends the logs down the line would be chopped up and stuff. So they don't. I don't think they make like the actual like saws themselves,
Yeah.
but they make like all those huge contraptions that are shoving stuff down the line. And you see, I went to their place a couple times. It's just a huge manufacturing facility where semi trucks will drive through the center of it, and they got all these huge just things hanging off of it in lines
Mm-hmm.
where they drop the equipment on the back of the trailers. And their boss is Canadian, and last year he sponsored me for the Firecracker, but the Firecracker didn't
It
happen
never
last year,
happened.
so we carried it over to this year, and he was texting my mom throughout the whole race because my mom works there,
Mm-hmm.
so that's how we get
So
that
I mean,
connection.
I'm sure they were happy with the sponsorship. I think they got their money's
But yeah,
worth.
yeah. So he was texting my mom throughout the whole race, like giving updates, like 7 to go until he gets to first place, 8 to go, 13 to go.
He knew.
And yeah,
He
he
knew. They
knew
knew.
he was telling her all this stuff, and eventually he said 3 to go, and she said now he just needs to hold it, and he took
Mm-hmm.
it in as if my mom said he just needs to stay in fourth place. And he came to work today, and he
Sure,
was
he was like, "Screw that."
yeah, he came to work today and he said, "I told you I don't sponsor losers." And that was just cool. That whole place, I'm sure that he's got a picture of my car that I signed hanging up on his wall in his
Oh,
office.
that's cool. I mean, that's. I mean, you hear about like, oh, I mean, I got a Michael Jordan poster behind me. You don't ever think about that. You're gonna have a piece of memorabilia people want.
Yeah.
You ever really thought? I mean, did you ever think that because of sim racing, you're gonna be signing pictures for people?
No, I didn't. I thought that's like the last thing that came to mind. And then the guy wanted me to sign a picture of my car. And I
I
was
mean,
like,
that's. I mean,
sure.
you think about stuff that might seem minuscule to the average person, but I remember I won a race and I got this diecast of the car that I drove, and I thought I literally got the package, and I think, okay, cool, I get a diecast of my car, and then I get the package, and I'm like, oh my god, that's me.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna look at the trophy, you're gonna see your name on it and the diecast with it, and realize that's a diecast of me
Yeah.
or a diecast of you.
Yeah. I
Not many people get to experience that. I mean, there
no.
are full time NASCAR drivers that don't get a diecast made of their car.
No. It really I don't know if I'm gonna get a diecast. I don't think I heard anything about it the whole time, but
I
I'm
know I know Cattell got one. I think Cozy got one too. But you might get a DM on Twitter or something and someone say, "Hey, I'm gonna make a diecast of your car." I mean, because
yeah.
I think I mean how Cozy I don't think knew about the painting that he got until it was done.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna have someone out there that you might have never heard of or have ever even talked to that's gonna do something like that. I guarantee it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait. My DMs are open if you want to do that for me. But yeah, it's just incredible. And the final sponsor on the car is Roasted Gems Coffee.
Yeah,
Brett
that's
Brandon
Zimmerman's.
Zimmerman.
Yep,
Yeah,
he's a good dude.
he's been incredible to me the past year or two. Or I don't even remember how long it's been, but I've
Hmm.
had his logos on my
Yeah, I see.
racing cars for quite a
He's
while.
a big sim racing guy. I
Yeah,
met him. I forget where I've met him in sim racing, but I mean, it seems like he's got. It's kind of like how Marcus Lemonis was when Camping
yeah,
World was becoming a thing. It's like everywhere you look, there was a Camping World logo on a car, and
yeah,
it's like everywhere I look, and I run in Monday Night Racing. I see a couple of Roasted Gems logos. I see it at FTF. I see it. Hell, I saw it in the Coke Series once, and
yeah,
they were on a real life race car, I believe. But I mean, he's a good sim racing guy that wants to help build it up, and people like him need more people like him.
yeah. And he's been super.
Those are the only two on your car, right? Or was there anyone else?
So I mean, there was a bunch of like little
Yeah,
logos,
but Go on about Roasted
contingencies.
Gems.
Yeah, so Roasted Jim's just Brandon Zimmerman's super nice guy. He's been a supporter of mine for a while. We raced a couple times in like officials, and then that's all we needed for him to start talking to me. And
Yeah.
he asked him if he'd be interested in jumping on board, and he said absolutely. And
Well,
then that's where it started.
I don't think you'll need to pay for a cup of coffee for a while.
No, 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 definitely not.
Did
He
he? I'm assuming he messaged you after.
Oh yeah, he was super excited. He was just like, "Let's go!" And he was just like, "That was awesome." And I mean, we've won Rotor Pro races this year, and he was super excited
But
about that.
nothing like that.
And then we just won a Firecracker 400 with roasted gems on the side of the car. And I'm sure he would. I mean, a couple hours before the race, he was he put a picture of my car up there and tagged me in it, and he said, "My pick for tonight."
Hmm.
And that, and I guess that's what
Yeah, I feel
that's.
bad. I underestimated you. I put a tweet out about. I always do this with some Coke races. And I did it with the 200, and I was like, if any of these six win, I'll give you iRacing credit if you like the tweet. And I named off six, and you were one of them. And
Oh really?
I hate I underestimated you. Now I mean, like the six picks, there was no wrong pick in the field. Any of the 43
No.
dudes in the field could have gone and won it. But I mean, it's.
I feel
I
like
mean,
this was the strongest Firecracker
oh
400
yeah,
field to date.
yeah.
Um,
It was a very stout field.
yeah, I mean, I think I saw the SOF for this race was 6.4 thousand I rating.
I have the final results that Josh Mendoza put up. It doesn't say the SOF on it, but I mean, I can only imagine it's that high. So I mean, it wasn't like there were a bunch of scrubs in that race. I mean, any of
No.
the 43 could have won. I think I said that of the 6, I think Cozy and Cattell probably the most obvious picks to, because they've won it before. And then I said Sean Butler, Kevin McAdams, because they raced it a bunch, and I can't remember who else. Chris Overland. I mean,
Yeah.
and then it was like, it's like throwing a dart at the dartboard.
Yeah.
Where's it going to land? And apparently, I got to hit the bullseye because you were the bullseye. So
Yeah. It's I mean, I know I probably say this so many times, but it's just still so crazy. Like it's almost like I still can't believe it. Um, in my mind, it's like I'm toning it down a little bit. Like, yeah, it was just any other race, but I know I should be thinking of it as like it was a huge accomplishment and something that I'll never forget. So, so yeah, I mean, it's just I can't thank E-Racer and everyone that's involved in that enough for putting that event on. Um, just David Shieldhouse for the amazing call at the end.
he's the
Just
man.
an incredible with just all that
And
emotion.
he's a really busy dude now. I mean,
Oh yeah,
he's with Alpha Prime, on the
yeah,
represent.
on your
But,
hat.
yeah. So I mean, and the other in Klickerman and Lane and Cal, I mean, they're NASCAR drivers. I mean, the
Yeah,
fact that these guys take time to do this is amazing. I mean, E-Racer's awesome.
yeah,
I'm glad that this event was back. I mean,
and Josh Mendoza as well.
Josh Mendoza's a freaking Superman.
Yeah, and you know the lack of a Firecracker 400 last year, it wasn't great, but for the circumstances of why it wasn't
Yeah.
here, like
Life happens.
life happens, and I was just so happy for Josh to finally be in a place where he could
Do that.
help bring this back.
And he had a lot of good people around him. I know a lot of I think the
Yeah.
FTF guys all chipped in and helped. So I mean, it wasn't a one man army, but I mean, what he could have done it. I mean, because
Yeah.
he's awesome, dude. And
Yeah.
I mean, I could only say I could sing the high praises about him. But I mean, I'm glad the event's back. Is there anybody else you'd like to thank?
Oh,
Yeah.
just if I haven't already, everyone at NXT Sports, David L. Brown, Kyle
Mhm.
Hendricks as well. Him and David L. Brown came
He's
together.
awesome.
Yeah, him and David L. Brown came together there before qualifying and together, and man, they one heck of a qualifying setup.
Oh yeah.
We got pole. Alex
Yeah.
Martinez
I mean,
got pole.
I mean, Alec. He did the last to first challenge. I mean, if he goes and wins the race, it's another 10 grand. So I mean, just to
Yeah.
have that opportunity is amazing.
I mean, knocked out the front row. We
Huh.
had Alec and Will Norton
Yeah.
front row with NXT Sports, and then we went out and win the race. I mean, it's kind of weird that we did that. NXT Sports won 2 qualifying and
Yeah.
first place in the race.
Well, man, hey, I'm keeping up with you in Road to Pro. I mean, if I make any picks in Road to Pro, you're going to be top of the list. I don't care what track it is. I mean,
I appreciate it.
I mean, you're sitting 4th in points in Road to Pro, and I mean, you got big things ahead. I mean, this isn't. I don't think this is just going to be the peak of your iRacing career. Personally, I mean, I think you're going to be racing on Tuesday nights. Would be my guess.
Well, I certainly hope so. Being in the Coke Series has been a dream of mine for quite a minute now, and if I'm gonna win this Firecracker 100, I'm gonna be making making the Coke Series the last race a contender whenever we finally see if we make it in the Coke Series or not. That might
Yeah.
be one of the biggest moments of my iRacing career, personally. Because again, the only reason iRacing was to make the Coke Series. Everything else along the way has been amazing as well.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate you. I'm glad you took time out of your busy media schedule. I can only imagine what other people have wanted to talk to you. I was surprised you answered so quick when I asked, "Hey, let's talk about this." I mean, you answered like immediately, and you were like, "Abso-freaking-lutely."
Yeah.
I put it on Twitter, and I was like, I texted a couple of people. I was like, I'm shocked that he was able to do this so quick, but I'm glad that you were. Again, I appreciate you, man. Good luck at Road to Pro. Hopefully this isn't the last time I talk to you. Hopefully I talk to
absolutely.
hopefully I talk to Coke driver Logan Helton someday. So that'd be fun.
Yeah.
If you do that, I'll bring you back.
Oh yeah.
This won't be the last time. But
hopefully winning this Firecracker 400 will be extra reason for higher up teams in the Coke series to be interested in me as well.
never know. I mean, they could drop a bag on you. I mean,
Oh yeah,
they when the lights get bright, I mean, you shine the brightest. So I mean, that's all teams could ask for. So
there you go.
man, I appreciate you. Appreciate taking the time out again.
No problem. Thank you for having me on your little podcast
Oh
here.
yeah,
This is the
listen,
first.
all kinds of listen on all podcast platforms. This will be on YouTube. It'll go probably. We're recording this Friday night. It'll go out sometime in the next week, but it'll be I'm starting to bring it back. I've mentioned this online. I just kind of lost not really interest in doing it, but I just lost like the drive for it. And
Mhm.
then I put on an episode earlier this week because I was just fed up with how crappy people were driving, including myself, on iRacing. So I was like, yeah, I could do this again. I could find time. And I
Yeah.
realized how easy it is now with what I have now. So I was like, yeah, we can continue this. And I got the first big guest in
Yeah.
the revamped version of this. But man,
I
again,
mean,
I
hey, this is
appreciate
my
it.
first podcast ever doing with someone, or first ever just chat about it type thing.
I mean, hopefully they have you on the money lap or something with eraser, or
Yeah.
maybe
I
even
asked Mendoza and I said,
need an
is that a
interview.
possibility? And he said, I'll have to ask him. And I said, I'm getting further than I thought I would with that.
Well, all right, man. I appreciate it.
Well, no problem. Again, thanks to you for bringing me on here. Thanks to just all my sponsors, Advanced Sawmill Machinery and Roasted Gems Coffee, and everyone at Nexus Esports. And you can't forget Brian Hicks
Cannot forget Brian Hicks.
and
You
Justin
could,
Rowden for the paint scheme.
yeah, that was a good looking paint scheme too. But
Thank you.
you could never forget Brian Hicks.
No. If you do, you are banned forever from anything.